All right. So my name is Franz Borkhardt. It's my pleasure to kick off the SBA Baton Rouge Small Business Funding Relief teleconference and welcome everybody who is attending. I am trying to get more attendees through social media as we speak. So it is my pleasure to start this off and to recognize the folks that made this happen. The Comer Capital Group, Haley and Associates, Ashley Bell, and a little group I run called Geaux Rouge. For those who don't know, Geaux Rouge is a radio show and a social media business that I spearhead that celebrates the best parts of Baton Rouge. So I am thrilled to be a part of this, and I'm very happy that you guys are doing this. With that being said, it is very important that we are doing this. As a small business owner, I have a small law firm, and like I said, I own Geaux Rouge. It is very, very important that we share knowledge and information right now on the SBA process, whether it's how to fill the application out, what banks to use, all the little things that a small business needs to know. So I'm very excited to be a part of this. With that being said, I'm going to pass this along to Ronald Haley, one of the finest criminal defense attorneys I know, as well as the rest of the crew.
Sorry about that, a little technical difficulty. Franz, thank you so much. I couldn't think of a better partner to get the word out and to associate with Geaux Rouge. Your work you've done with this has been phenomenal. Facebook following over 20,000, and he even has a small business sector that has approximately 400 small businesses that relate to the site. The two speakers you're going to hear from today, first, Mr. Ashley Bell. Mr. Bell is the White House Policy Advisor and SBA Regional Administrator. The second person you're going to hear from is Mr. Brandon Comer with Comer Capital Group. Ashley is going to go over basically an outline of the potential SBA products that are available for small businesses. And Brandon's going to take the mic and discuss the technical aspects of going through the various SBA applications. This was important to us, all of us collectively that have come together. We bleed Louisiana and we bleed Baton Rouge. Myself, Franz, and Ashley all graduated law school together at LSU. I had the privilege of going to undergrad at Xavier University in New Orleans with Brandon, and Brandon's Louisiana office is in Baton Rouge. So as these products and finances became available to the country, it was very important to us that Baton Rouge had access and Baton Rouge had knowledge about what is at stake, as today we reached the dubious quota of having 1,000 confirmed coronavirus cases in the parish. It is imperative, as small businesses are the backbone of the city, that this city has access to the funds and have the knowledge to go about getting them. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to White House Policy Advisor and SBA Regional Administrator, Mr. Ashley Bell.
Thank you, Ronnie, for that introduction. Thank you for the opportunities for our friends at Geaux Rouge, celebrating the best of Baton Rouge. You have a lot to celebrate, so I know your job is full. These are incredibly trying times, but it is always good to think about where we've been and where we've come from. And Baton Rouge has seen success and has also seen its challenges. But I guarantee you that what we're going through right now, as much as it tries us, it also is opening a door for us to think differently. American entrepreneurs are the best suited for this. This is a unique challenge, but we're unique people. And that unique challenge can be met with innovative solutions. So the tools that I'm going to talk about today, please see them as just that. They're tools. Tools are used to build things. We will build a way out, but we will also pave a way forward by using these tools. These tools are important when you think about how you couple them with great advice from advisors like Comer Capital Group and other advisors who can help you figure out what direction that path needs to go. So let's start by talking about the disaster portion of this loan process. Louisiana was declared a small business disaster already by application of your governor, and that allowed money to flow directly to small businesses. And what does that money look like? That money, what does that money look like? The money looks like particularly loans of up to $2 million. And if you have a business that has over 10 employees, you can apply for an advance of $10,000 that for those who are in the queue and who may have already done that, that money is going to be released in the next 24 hours, providing millions of dollars instantly to those employers that are waiting on their application to be processed, which is important. This particular loan product is also a great opportunity for you to enter the credit market, even if you've never had a loan. I mean, many of us have had small businesses that have been purely cash driven, and that's great. But to grow a business and to be successful, we all must learn to manage debt and to leverage it appropriately. So I know many times it's sort of uncomfortable to go into debt or uncomfortable to get a loan. And many times people think they can't get a loan. Unfortunately, far too many times in underserved communities, people feel as though they can't go to the bank to get a loan unless they can prove they don't need one. But this is different. The process is different. The loan comes directly from the federal government, not a banker on this side of the equation. So this loan, up to $25,000, you do not need to have collateral. You also don't need to sign a personal guarantee. What's also unique about this working capital loan is that you can kick off the deferment to pay your first payment for a year. So if you got $25,000 today, you don't have to make the first payment until 1 year from now. And that's important to know because it allows you to see past this virus where we are, this pandemic crisis, economic crisis that we're in, and see a better day where your cash flow will be able to sustain this loan. So the other program we have is called the Payroll Protection Plan. The Payroll Protection Plan is also open to any small business and nonprofit that fits our guidelines, and that's under 500 employees, generally speaking. This is an important program because it allows you to take 1 month of payroll average, multiply it by 2.5, and then allow you to receive a loan that can cover your payroll for 8 weeks and some of your overhead. Now, what's the catch? The catch is you have to employ people and stay employed throughout this process. Let's give you an example. If you have 15 employees March 1st, but you had 20 February 15th, and you let 5 go because the economy was starting to slow down, you could go to your bank today, get a payroll protection plan loan for those 15 employees. But you know what? You could also go back and hire the 5 that you let go. You can go back and get funding for 20 full employees. And by doing that, you can hire those 5 back or hire someone else. And that could let you fully be funded for 8 weeks with the 20 employee full count, and as well as being able to include some of your overhead. Overhead that can be included includes mortgage interest, your rent, your utilities, and insurance premiums. This gives you an opportunity to take the load off of you because we've asked you to close down your doors. We've asked America to stop gathering, and stopping gathering has stopped us from making the revenues that we previously were able to make as an economy. So this is the government saying, well, we asked you to not gather. So during that time, let us keep you employed. Let us keep your business afloat. And so this is a great point because if you keep everyone employed, that entire loan becomes forgivable. You don't have to pay it back. And if for whatever reason you get more than what's forgivable, or you deviate from the provisions and not allowed to get the whole thing forgivable, and let's give you an example of what that can look like. Let's say you get a $100,000 payroll protection loan. $75,000 of that needs to be used for payroll. $25,000 needs to be used for overhead and the applicable categories of which I mentioned. Let's just say you need additional $15,000 because you want to pay more overhead. Well, that's fine. Well, if you do that, that $15,000 is not applicable, will be due over a term of 2 years with a 1% interest rate. Still an incredible opportunity at a very, very low interest rate with a 2-year note. So that is the overview of our program. And also there's some debt relief. If you're out there and you have an SBA loan, please contact your lender. Your lender will be able to not only process your PPP loan, but your lender will also be able to get SBA to pay your current loan for 6 months. We'll pay the principal, we'll pay the interest for 6 months. An incredible way to also to help with your cash flow during this trying time. So both of these programs can be used together. They can be used collaboratively. And I look forward to being with you today on this webinar to help answer any questions you have, coupled with the expertise of Mr. Comer. Thank you so much, Mr. Haley. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ashley, for your insight and words of encouragement. At this time, I'm going to pass the baton over to Mr. Brandon Comer with Comer Capital Group. He is a financial advisor helping small businesses achieve what they need through this SBA process. He's going to go over some of the more technical aspects of the loans and the 3 different programs that you're eligible to get. Brandon?
Okay, thanks, Mr. Haley. So as Mr. Bell stated, these are tools. And one of the things we want to urge all businesses, is to look at this based on your overall trajectory. Really evaluate, what your financial and economic needs are currently and what you'll need to sustain throughout not only this pandemic, but to set yourself up to thrive in the future. So the EIDL, which is the first product that Mr. Bell mentioned, that goes directly through the SBA website. And while the application has been streamlined, and a lot of people may have already potentially filled it out, we want to urge everyone to also look at what those additional documents are that will potentially be required in order to close out on that loan, as it relates to tax returns, P&L, balance sheet, and some of the other interim financial statements. Because once requests for information come, you really want to be able to turn those around within the 7-day requirement. So it's best to pretty much have a full package already pulled together. On the PPP side, the same thing. The government has done a lot to really bolster this program, but it relies on banks in order to really implement. And banks have experienced several challenges, given that they've been inundated with a large amount of volume. So some banks, such as Wells Fargo and a few others, had reached their capacity and had stopped taking applications. The Federal Reserve Bank is recently, as of today, implemented a new liquidity facility that will help encourage some of the smaller banks to act more expeditiously on this program. There's been a little bit of a reticence as it relates to some of the smaller banks, purely because they only have so much capital and liquidity that they can put at risk. And so for them, they've been holding and bringing in applications. So just because you filled out a PPP application and sent it to your bank is a very different story than the money that's actually going out of the door. And so, the Federal Reserve Bank and the SBA has been working very expeditiously to address any concerns that the community and smaller banks have to ensure that they go ahead and really start getting that money out of the door as well. Another product that's also available if your financial institution that you currently bank with is an SBA Express lender, is the Express Bridge Loan Program, for which you can qualify up to $25,000. So I would encourage you to reach out to, and you have to be an existing customer of that lender. So you can't shop around, if you will, to find someone who is an Express lender. But if your current financial institution is an Express lender, then you can reach out to them for the EBL for $25,000, which would be unsecured. So again, just to reiterate, the PPP, as long as you can maintain the records from a compliance standpoint, obviously you have to demonstrate the payroll sufficient to get the loan, but also maintain the records that are requisite to demonstrate that you spent the funds as outlined in the stipulations that Mr. Bell mentioned, then you will be eligible for that forgivable portion. And therefore, we're encouraging everyone that has payroll and that can take advantage of this to surely take advantage of that. As it relates to the EIDL and the EBL, that is debt that will have to be repaid. So truly be, conscious of what your ability to repay is. The loan terms on the EIDL can go out up to 30 years. Obviously, the thought there is that would make your payments really low and help you from a cash flow standpoint, but also recognizing that post-pandemic, you will still have the same operating expenditures and things that you had before the pandemic, and that you will also have this additional debt service burden. So you want to keep those payments as low as possible, while being mindful that the longer you extend debt out, the more interest you end up paying over time. So we definitely encourage you to work with a financial advisor or a professional that can help you think through not only accessing these products, but what they mean as it relates to your overall business and your overall financial health. And so with that, Mr. Haley, I'll turn it back over to you so that we can answer any questions.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, on participating webinar, we will open the floor for question and answers for both Mr. Bell and Mr. Comer.
Yeah. And for a quick housekeeping item, there's a Q&A button on your screen if you like to type a question, or you can type it into the chat.
Brandon, as the questions are coming in, please stress again the importance of compliance in the PPP, that if you're not, there's really not a lot of wiggle room as it relates to the compliance component, whereas where SBA will convert the loan into a grant. Because I know some small businesses don't keep, the same type of records as other small businesses.
Right. Yeah, so I would definitely encourage you, if you don't currently utilize some sort of a payroll processing system like an ADP or something like that, some businesses just maintain their own records and file their payroll reports and the payroll returns. And if that's the case, then that probably would meet the level of sufficiency. But if you don't, we actually have a form that we can provide that would, certainly meet that burden. But the most important thing is spend the money properly. Make sure you know what you can spend it on, and then the documentation piece, you could certainly, take care of.
Brandon, I think we have a question, or Ashley. What is the first step if I'm an independent contractor, no LLC, and have lost partial income, not full, due to the coronavirus?
Brandon, if you want to answer that, Brandon, I'll take a shot at it either way.
Yeah. So independent contractor lost partial income. Yeah. I mean, so as an independent contractor, originally the rules were that employers who use essential independent contractors were filing on their behalf. That's since modified, and encouragement for independent contractors to file on their own, and not having an LLC is not a problem. As a sole proprietor, you can still file for the EIDL. So having a partial loss, the question is, was your business in service of February 15th, and were you a viable entity? Having a paper loss is not necessarily specifically exclusionary, right? But the question is, were you a going concern? Was your business, a viable entity as of that date? And then from there, they'll determine your ability to repay. So based on your financial statements, it will determine what trajectory the business was on and what your ability to repay a loan would be. But I would not discourage you from qualifying just because you had a paper loss in that particular year. And then also having lost partial income, not full, then you are also who the program is designed for. So because we want to help you offset that loss. So I would say you actually perfectly suited. But Mr. Bell, I would ask if you have anything else to add.
No, that was great. Good job. Need to hire you.
Okay, I see another question from Phil Smith. I manage a small nonprofit whose employees are paid by a third party, and 50% of the employees' wages are donated to the nonprofit. My question, would the donated wages qualify for the PPP?
I can jump out there on this one. Theoretically, most nonprofits donations or income is donated. So it just depends on what do you mean by that. So if you mean that they're donated to a third party, the question is, who is paying the payroll taxes? That is the question. Are you paying the payroll taxes, or is the third party paying? Because whoever's incurring the payroll liability is the person who will be able to use those employees on their application.
Okay. Thanks for that, Ashley. The next question comes from Holly Vendetto. She joined us a little late and just wanted to get a deeper understanding of the EIDL requirements a little better. So very quickly, for the EIDL, you can borrow up to $2 million. For a for-profit business, the interest rate is 3.75%. For a nonprofit, it's 2.75%. You can get an advance of up to $10,000. The terms go out to 30 years. And of course, it's based on the ability to repay. And then we also spoke briefly about the EBL, the Express Bridge Loan Program, where if your lender is an express lender, you can borrow up to $25,000 unsecured as a bridge to the EIDL, and the EIDL proceeds could then be utilized to pay off the EBL. And actually, Mr. Bell, did you want to add anything to that?
That's pretty good.
All right, good. Any other questions? Here we go. I have a small business with less than 500 employees. However, I'm not determined an employee of the business and receive no set salary. Do I apply for the business or something else as self-employed? Bill, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, so if you're a sole proprietor, yes, you apply for both of these programs. You can. If you're in the EIDL application as a sole proprietor, you will count as one employee. On the PPP side, yes, you will count as one employee. So they will look at your gross income and use that and other documentation about your profits and losses to assign you a wage that will basically be counted equally to any as you have an employee.
I had a question, actually a private message from a couple of my sole proprietor attorney friends. If they are an S Corp with no employees, but they pay themselves through payroll, would they be eligible for the PPP?
Yeah, that actually makes it easier. Actually, you're better situated than most, because most sole proprietors can't. They walk in the bank and they won't be able to say how much money they made. They'll just say, I'm here and I figured out. So yes, that the process will be much easier for you as a S Corp.
Okay, we have another question that says there's a little bit of confusion when this person looked up EIDL. They read something that says it will not have to be repaid, but obviously we have mentioned repayment terms on this teleconference. So, Mr. Bell, can you, I guess, sort of dispel the notion that EIDLs do not have to be repaid, with the exception of, or maybe they're thinking about the advance. So can you talk about that, the difference?
Yeah, the EIDL is a loan. The only part, let's give you an example. So there's $10,000 that you can get that you don't have to pay back, but the requirement to receive that is having 10 employees. So if you have a business that has 10 employees and you apply for an EIDL loan of $25,000, you apply today. So in about a week, you'll get the first $10,000 sent to you, and that will be an advance that you do not have to pay back. If you qualify for that, then your loan amount will drop to $15,000 because the first 10 has already been distributed. and you don't have to pay it back. So the loan value drops by $10,000. So there is a component where you have to pay back, and there's a component where you don't. But the component where you don't, to be clear, only applies to people with over 10 employees. And if you apply and you don't have 10 employees, you still may be awarded a advance that you do not have to pay back, but that will be depending on how many employees you have left, how many employees you actually have.
Okay, thanks for that, Ashley. I don't see any additional questions.
All right. Well, let me just throw this out there. If anybody wants to contact us or you want more information, please feel free to go to SBA.gov. And I know, Mr. Comer, you want to send out your information so people can contact you. I appreciate y'all having me on the call today. I have to jump on one more, but this has been fantastic for me. And if I can do anything to help anybody in Baton Rouge, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Appreciate it.
All right. See y'all soon.
Thanks. Yeah, and I would like to quickly, before I turn it back over to Mr. Haley, echo Mr. Bell's sentiment. You know, I truly appreciate the opportunity to help get this information out. You know, at Comer Capital, we certainly, you know, love the opportunity to engage and help make the community aware. So if there's anything that we can do to help in further understanding this, or if you have any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to us at disasterassistance@comercapital.com. And we will also share a presentation deck that we normally have for these with Franz. So in case he wants to distribute that to those who are participating on this call. And then we've been recording this call as well. So Franz can speak to how that might also be distributed. But thank you, Mr. Haley. I'll turn it back over to you.
Brandon, before we go, we do have one more question. I want to make sure everyone that has one gets their question answered, and then I will turn it over to Franz so we can conclude. It's from David. If the employee or employer has less than 10 employees, what's the test on the advanced funds?
Yeah, thanks for that question, David. I don't have the scale, and one, I believe it's based on an availability and a scale down. So I can't say if it's 9 employees, it'll be 9,000, or 8 employees, it'll be 8,000. We can't speak to that, but if some certainty does come out around that scale, we'll certainly share that information.
Thank you, Brandon. Everyone, I would like to thank everyone for participating. Brandon and Ashley, thank you so much for your insight. Franz, thank you so much for being a partner in putting this together. As a community and a country, we're going to get through this, but it's important for us who have the information to share it, to not keep it to ourselves, to make sure that our community bounces back. And so we ask folks that are on this call that know other businesses or individuals that need this help to funnel them to Comer Capital, to funnel them to Geaux Rouge, the website. I'm sure Franz is going to have this up in short order so folks can get this information. And if it calls for us to do this again, absolutely, we are 100% available for the city. Franz?
As soon as I get a copy of the recording, I know this is being recorded. As soon as I get a copy of the recording, whether through Comer Capital or someone else, I will post it on the Geaux Rouge Facebook site as well as on the website, GeauxRougeBR.com. So we will absolutely share it. I will make sure that Brandon and Ronald are tagged in that post so that they can also see if people have additional questions.
Perfect. Okay.
And that's about it, guys.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Ron.